Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Kristen and this is my booktube, where I talk about all things related to the books I'm reading, also a little bit of travel content sprinkled in there, but for the most part, we're talking about books. Let's talk about books, baby, if you will. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my February TBR, and let me tell you, it's romance heavy. In general, I'm not too big of a romance reader. I am more so a thriller, murder, mystery, horror type person. Very different, but I do like to read some romances on occasion. I tend to call them my palate cleanser books. I like romances because they're lighthearted, they can be pretty fun and funny, and they're just a good break from all of the dark stuff that tends to happen in the thrillers and stuff that I normally read. So this month I decided that since this is the month of Valentine's Day, we might as well lean into that a little bit and read some romances. They're not all romances on my TBR, but for the most part, it's pretty romance heavy. So without further ado, let's get into my February TBR. Y'all know how last week I was talking about how I did a good job in January reading books that are already on my bookshelf. That will not be the case this month, more than likely. Most of the books I'll be reading this month I'm going to be listening to, and I do not actually physically own a copy of them, so making myself a hypocrite like right away. But I do own a couple of them, so let's get started, shall we? So I have a total of 7 books this month, which I believe is the same that I had last month, but typically I can get through romances pretty fast. They're pretty easy to listen to, easy to binge, so I feel like I should be able to get through these books fairly easily. There are a couple that are not within that easy to read romance category, so I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what I can get through. The first book on my February TBR is actually a rollover from January, and that is Mel Brooks's All About Me. I want to finish this in February. I said in my last video that I would have probably finished this last month because I did start listening to the audiobook, but then when I cracked open my physical copy, I noticed that there are pictures that correspond with the stories in the book, and I really want to see these pictures while I read, so I'm going to switch over to the physical book, and that means it's going to take me a little bit longer to read this, but that's okay because I get to see the pictures. So this is number 1. I clearly already started it. I am about 60 pages in? Yeah, 56 pages into this book. I said in one of my previous videos when I talked about reading this book that this is essentially just a memoir of Mel Brooks's life, and he just talks about growing up in Brooklyn and his life in show business. He's 96, he has a lot of stories to tell, so I'm looking forward to finishing this month. The next book that's on my February TBR is All About Love by Bell Hooks. This was the book club pick for the book club I am part of for February, so I'm gonna be reading this, and I wanted to get the physical copy and read the physical copy so that I can mark up the inside and take notes, all of that stuff. I've heard a lot of people have some experiences with this book. So this book is essentially talking about love as a topic within life, how we are conditioned to view love as children, and also how the most meaningful and loving relationships in our lives are not necessarily romantic loving relationships. And I've heard a lot of people say that this book made them rethink essentially everything they think about love. And so I'm excited to read this month and see what I can get out of it. I'm typically not much of an annotator when I read, only in particular cases like books like this or Atomic Habits, or if the writing in it is just really beautiful and I want to mark it up in the moment. But for the most part, I don't typically annotate this many books, but this is going to be one that I'm going to annotate this month. The next book on my TBR for February, which I do own, but it is currently buried in my bookcase and I don't feel like digging it out, is Love on the Brain by Hazelwood. So this is the same author that wrote The Love Hypothesis. I know there's like some heated debate, I guess, on whether people liked it or not. I really enjoyed The Love Hypothesis personally. I thought it was super cute, and yeah, I'm excited to read this next book by Hazelwood. So this is another woman in STEM based love story. Our main character works for NASA. Her story is very much an enemies to lovers story. You could even say arch nemesis to lovers, because I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, in the synopsis, he is described as her arch nemesis. So, very fun. One of my favorite romance tropes is enemies to lovers, so we'll see how I get on with that one. The next book on my list for February is 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. And Sally Thorne is best known for writing The Hating Game, which is another enemies to lovers romance that I absolutely loved. 99% Mine is essentially about a childhood crush. The main character, Darcy, has a crush on her twin brother's best friend and has ever since she was 8 years old. And when Darcy and her brother inherit this house from a relative that they then try to fix up, who do they call to help with the renovation but her brother's best friend and her childhood crush? So this is kind of like a, I guess you could say it's like a friends to lovers. It's like brother's friend to lovers, but yeah, it looks cute, it looks fun, and yeah, that's about all I get from the synopsis. So we will see how this goes. Next book on the list is My Favorite Half-Night Stand by Christina Lauren. So once again, I have read a Christina Lauren book before. I read The Unhoneymooners a couple years ago, and I genuinely really enjoyed that book. I thought it was genuinely really funny. It had some dramatic twists and turns that I did not see coming and that I really enjoyed. And overall, I thought it was a fantastic read. I have also read another Christina Lauren book that I truly did not like. It was The Soulmate Equation. I had so many reasons why I disliked that book. I wrote it in a Google Doc because there were so many parts of that book I wanted to remember not liking, so when people asked me, I could tell them why I didn't like it. So we are currently batting a 50-50 average with Christina Lauren right now. So it'll be interesting to see which way this book tips the scales this month. So My Favorite Half-Night Stand is essentially about a professor that works at UC Santa Barbara, and she has a group of colleagues that they all have to go to this university event and they all agree to take dates. And she has this, what she calls a half-night stand, which I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I'm sure I'll find out in the book. She has what she calls a half-night stand with one of her colleagues slash best friend. And after that night together, they part on the agreement that they should just stay friends. And she is not okay with that. So she devises a plan to reel him back in. And yeah, so this is essentially best friends to lovers kind of trope. I've heard some really good things about this book, so I am excited to get into that. So next up on the list is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. And yet again, another author that I have read another book from. I have read Beach Read by Emily Henry, and I did really enjoy that book quite a bit. Apparently this is the month of the repeat romance authors for me. Pretty much all of these I've read about one book from, and now we're gonna read another one. So Book Lovers centers around Nora, who is a literary agent in New York City, the Big Apple. She has lived in New York all her life, and she's very much a city girl, working woman who has fallen victim to the classic Hallmark movie trope where her significant other goes to a small town and ends up falling in love and breaking up with her. So she has been on the receiving end of those Hallmark movies for years. And her sister take one last hoorah vacation while her sister is pregnant to this tiny town in North Carolina, I think, in one of the Carolinas, where they spend a summer together before her sister gives birth to this new baby. So Nora and her sister go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina, which is the setting of a book recently published by one of Nora's clients. Throughout the book, they spend a whole month there together, just soaking in all of the scenery. And once they get to Sunshine Falls, who does Nora see but her old rival, obviously. And we can assume, I guess from that description, that this is an enemies to lovers story. This is one that I have started today. I started it earlier today while I was working, and I can see it's probably going to be pretty funny. She's very much a realist, a non-Hallmark person. She has read all the books, she knows all the tropes, and she makes fun of the tropes when she sees them in real life, which I can honestly appreciate. And I've heard really good things about this book. I really enjoyed Beach Read, so I have high hopes that Emily Henry will not let me down with book lovers, because as a book lover, I want to love this book. Okay, and the last book that I have on my February TBR is Wuthering Heights. Still, I guess, kind of a romance, but a more toxic one. And we're slipping in a classic along the way too, so, you know, 2 birds, 1 stone, all that jazz. But we're gonna read Wuthering Heights. I've never actually read Wuthering Heights before. I read Jane Eyre last year by the other Brontë sister, and now it's time to read Wuthering Heights. So, I don't know much about Wuthering Heights, and kind of for classics, I like to keep it that way. If I don't know a ton about them, I like to go in without a lot of outside knowledge so that I can form my own opinions and not be, I guess, swayed by other people's opinions on classics. So yeah, I'm excited to read this. I mean, if the Brontë sisters are similar in their writings of these leading men, I have a feeling I'm not gonna like Heathcliff, because Eddie Rochester, not my fave. Not anyone's fave, I would hope. God, I would hope no one was into Edward Rochester. He is a mess. That dude is a mess, and Jane should have let him be, should have ran for the hills and never returned. But that's neither here nor there. Anyways, I'm looking forward to reading Wuthering Heights and forming my own opinion about it. So, I'm planning on doing another reading vlog. I don't know if Wuthering Heights will be in the reading vlog. All About Love is going to be my top priority this month because I am reading this for a book club. So I need to make sure that I finish this one with time to spare. So I think I have about 2 weeks to read this. It's not super long, so should hopefully be able to do that. So that's priority number 1. And then we will see what else I can get into this month. If I do a reading vlog, these will be the 2 books that you see me reading first this month, and then I will be listening to others as well. So that is the end of my February TBR. Put on my cute little pink sweater for this. I was looking for, I have a sweater that has little hearts all over it, and I don't know what I did with it. So that's sad, but still got the vibe, still got pink. But yeah, so that is it for my February TBR. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was entertaining for you. If you have a romance recommendation, please leave it down below. I don't read a ton of romances, so when I do, I really want it to be the ones that really stick out for people, if that makes sense. So I would love to know what your favorite romance is. If you have a book that you're really looking forward to reading this month, whether it be a romance book or not, leave that down below as well. Always curious to know what other people are reading. That is it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like down below. Let me know. And if you want to see more of my content going forward, like my reading vlogs, my wrap-up videos, also be sure to subscribe down below. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload, and help me grow my channel at the same time. I'm not going anywhere, so you better get on board now. No, just kidding. I try to upload every Saturday at noon Central Standard Time in the US. I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you guys next Saturday. All right, talk to you later. Bye.